I was really impressed by how each film feels unique and it plays to its time period really well. How difficult was it to make sure each felt, unique to that sort of subgenre of horror while also making sure that core story was being told and that the connective tissue was all there?
It was very challenging, but it was also really, really satisfying and fun, kind of as a filmmaker and then also as a movie lover, to be able to kind of look back at these decades that all had kind of amazing slasher movies and say, how can I pay homage? How can I like send my love letter to these? And then also, like you said, keep our core kind of 90s storyline propelling things forward. And so it really just ended up in always coming back to the characters, coming back to the experience of kind of our, love story with Dina and Sam, and figuring out how everything could be anchored around that as we drove forward.
The music choices for the time period are just so fantastic and it really makes for a fun watch. What went into the selection making process, when as it comes to music?
The music actually is one of the earliest things that kind of existed. So before even the script, I had made playlists. I made playlists when I was pitching the project. I built on those playlists and we played them when we were figuring out the writing and the breaking of the story. I continued to add to the playlist when I was casting. I shared it with cast. I shared it with crew. I listened to it on my way to set. It was just kind of like this perfect way to be put exactly back in that time period and kind of remember that tonal place that we wanted to live. Because I think that, when you're on set, you don't have music, you don't have sound, you don't have anything. But having that like music, thinking about it in your ear, you're reminded of this is how I want it to feel. So yeah.
I was more of a Goosebumps kid rather than Fear Street. Were there any like killers from the books that were included, and were there any Easter eggs that more keen-eyed fans will find out?
There weren't any killers that we directly took, but we basically kind of borrowed things with the Good family, the Fear family, the idea of Shadyside as this town where these bad things happen exist in the books. It was very much about having kind of preserving the fun and the spirit of the Fear Street books, which I grew up reading and loved. And so that was kind of the main thing. There's a lot of kind of the books have a very important place in the trilogy as far as they're able to save the characters more than once is all that I'll say.
The film tackles a lot of societal issues that I wasn't really expecting. Police planting evidence on black men. We go into the class structure and sexism, homophobia. How important was it to have that messaging in the film?
It was really, really important. It was kind of the reason that I felt like we could make Fear Street now. Insofar as that, like I said, listen, there's amazing slasher movies that took place in the 90s, in the 70s, in the 80s, but they always kind of looked the same as far as their cast of characters and who those characters were. And I thought the great part about Fear Street and us being able to create these three movies was that we were able to kind of let characters be protagonists, be heroes that normally would die very quickly in horror movies. So we could tackle things like systemic oppression and police violence and police planting evidence and kind of, like you said, homophobia, all of the things, but it was baked into this idea of this is the central kind of conflict of Shadysiders and Sunnyvale. So yeah.